All right, let's move on to our TDR 50. And as you, of course, this week we've been focused on North Carolina. And you can't talk about North Carolina without talking about the military and the nation's veterans. North Carolina is home to the third largest military population in the United States and is home to bases for every single branch of the service. More than half of all American Special Op Forces based in North Carolina. It's home to more generals than any other state in the Union outside the Pentagon. And with all that brash comes cash. According to the United States Department of Commerce, the military accounts for roughly 10% of North Carolina's economy. In 2013, the military supported 540,000 jobs, $30 billion in personal income across the state, and $48 billion in gross state product. The military is a major part of North Carolina's economy and a crucial part of the economy. The state is also relying on the feds to address the needs of veterans. This is the focus I want to have today on this. According to new data from the Washington Post and a Kaiser poll, of the 2.6 million service members who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, 43% say their physical health is worse. 31% said their mental and emotional health was worse. There is some good news. The Washington Post also reports that Veterans Affairs has cut that massive claims backlog by 44%, cut the wait time almost in half. But do veterans feel the government's meeting their needs? Their answers are split on this one. A new Washington Post-Kaiser poll shows 59% of veterans say the government is doing a good or excellent job. 40% said not so good or poor. Here to talk about veterans issues and their impact on his own state is the top Republican on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, North Carolina's own Richard Burr. Senator Burr, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Chuck.
I want to focus, I know you've been reading this extensive report from the Washington Post over the last 10 days, and in many ways it's eye-opening. We've been talking about this issue of a country at war for over a decade, and now we've got nearly 3 million veterans of those wars. That's going to have an impact on our health system over time, particularly in the state of North Carolina, considering there's a lot of veterans in that state. What is the state of Veterans Affairs and the administration right now as they're dealing with these backlogs, in your view?
Well, we're struggling. The administration has struggled for years, and I don't buy the 44% reduction in backlogs. I look at it and I see an increase in appeals. So it's shifting from one area to the other. It's time that we fix it. These are not difficult cases. And as we surge more people to it, the productivity per employee at VA goes down. So we've got to fix this once and for all. Chuck, North Carolina is also the fastest growing veterans population as a percentage in the country. And we need to make sure that the infrastructure is there so that we can keep that health care promise. We're well on our way in North Carolina, but nowhere near where we need to be nationally. So
you got a health care promise issue. We've also got bringing these veterans back into civil society, outside of military society. And this is, you know, look, this has been a cause of the First Lady. This has been a bipartisan effort to deal with this situation. But what can government do better on this front as we integrate these nearly 3 million veterans of these wars into civil society?
Well, Chuck, in the VA, we probably own over 50% of the psychiatric professionals in the country. They're aligned with VA, in most cases as employees. But we don't do a very good job at treating mental health, at identifying mental health tendencies. We don't screen real well when people come back from conflict when they're deployed. We're doing better. But we've got a long way to go. We've got to learn from some of the nonprofit private entities that have greater success than we do within the VA itself.
Is the VA, is this a situation where, and I understand the politics of what happened in the 70s and the decision to split this off from the Pentagon, but in hindsight, was that a mistake?
Well, I'm not sure that it was a mistake, but I'm not sure that VA in its current configuration is capable of handling World War II veterans who have a real defined set of needs, and handling today's warriors that come out that have different expectations, but more importantly, they're exposed to significantly different things than we've seen for decades. So we've got to work on the training of our medical professionals to make sure that the focus is the outcome of these kids. They've got a lifetime ahead of them. I want them to enjoy everything that they intend to.
How do you guarantee you get the best quality, high quality physicians working in the VA system?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we don't. But make no mistake about it, we've got some great professionals within the VA. They're passionate about the population they're working for. But in many cases, this is like every other bureaucracy that we find in the federal government. It doesn't function with common sense. When a veteran picks up the phone and calls a VA facility, it starts with getting a happy person on the other end. That's not always the case.
Right.
And most veterans see multiple practitioners. It'd be nice if we could schedule every appointment on the same day, because the #1 challenge for veterans health care is transportation. These are things that are fixable, but we seem to stumble in a bureaucracy without solutions.
I want to ask you about the Fort Hood situation, because you brought up this mental health issue, and it seems to be, frankly, we're struggling with it in private medical society, and we're struggling with it in the military. What should be the lesson out of Fort Hood? And clearly, you know, he snapped in some form or another. He was seeking some mental health care. He was an active member of the military. But there obviously is a privacy line on all these issues. You know, should have even had access to go buying a gun. That's a whole another conversation maybe we should have. But what's the lesson you want out of this?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the investigation, but clearly from what we know today, the military was carrying out the mental health evaluation, which they should have done. Whether they did it quick enough, whether they had reached a point where they could come to a conclusion, none of us know. I think most Americans, if not all Americans, want to make sure that those individuals who might be a threat to themselves or others don't have access to firearms. We've got a system in place that's supposed to do that, but we've got, as you said, some health care issues that are in statute that no matter how much we wish it, unless we're willing to change those, don't permit that exchange of information.
Senator Richard Burr, the ranking Republican on the Veterans Affairs Committee, thanks for coming on. We don't talk about these issues enough, so thank you.